A new battery and solar system is in and running, but it wasn't without issues. Follow me on this journey of install on the Rudder Extra, and I'll let you know what the little troubles were at the end of the video. Welcome back to Rudder Extra. My name's Damian and we've got everything installed. If you want to check out the video prior to this with decision-making process of who to go with and what to install, check it out up here. But we are up and running. We went with a company called Renox, which, as I mentioned in the last video, in the middle of all this, rebranded to Renox. So if you're looking it up, try Renox. They're the ones you need to find. The interesting thing about them is they do the battery manufacturing as well as the AI around discharging and charging your battery. So I haven't got up to that bit. This is all about the install. So there was pretty much 3 steps to this. Step 1 was a solar install, which was pretty much a normal solar install. So up the top here, we have a 5 kilowatt inverter, which does a lot of other tricky things as well. But essentially, we just installed the panels on the top. We had one very fit chap who ran up and down the ladder and installed everything, and it looks pretty magnificent. It's basically covered the entire roof with solar now, adding an additional 8 kilowatts. They've run that down, that comes across and into our inverter here. So on that first day, it was a 1-day job to get the solar done, all easy. The wires were just hanging down, ready for the second day. The second day was the battery install, and it was a big install. There were 3 guys here working pretty hard and working actually quite late into the evening, which was a little bit disruptive because you know, they have to turn the power off to get these things installed. But let's have a look at the install. So we got 4 batteries here. They look quite nice by themselves, but then they have to go put all these stickers on them, which ruins them a bit. They actually sit off the ground, which is something I didn't quite realize. And in the last video, you know, we had a big conversation around where they were put. So essentially, as I mentioned, we have a gas bottle down there. There's the other inverter. So it couldn't go there. There's an entryway there. Large space. Then we've got our battery and an air conditioning unit, so that doesn't matter. The other thing you'll notice is a little sun shield, rain shield. The canopy is actually more about the sun, they said, but it's quite good in here because I'm in between the 2 villas. Not a lot of sun gets in here, so they're not going to get degraded too much. Also, interestingly enough, they hang off the wall. So each battery is about 50 kilograms. Picked them up myself, they're quite heavy. So you do need a wall that's going to take that weight. So each battery is around about 600 wide, and you can see them all charging up at the minute now. All the conduit from the solar comes down and into the isolation. Then, and this is where the day got long, is another conduit has to run around, and you can see it joining over there, and it goes into the wall along with the power from the other inverter. This is where in the installation period you have to make some decisions. If you've got backup for your battery, so you can power your house, the batteries aren't big enough to power your entire house. They have to, you know, you have to choose what circuits you want the battery to be connected to. Obviously, you don't want your oven and things like that. So, you know, essentially, you want your fridges, you want your lights. They also suggested having internet would be beneficial. You know, in case there's a cyclone or something, having that internet infrastructure would be good. So the way it was divided for me was there's a light circuit on each level, and there's a power circuit on each level. So that was 4 circuits. So they were a bit worried about that, if that would be enough, or if that would be too much for the batteries to deal with. Now, obviously, if you're in a situation where you are blacked out, you can choose how you use your power. So you don't boil the jug and you don't do these sorts of things. But you know, we've got a washer and dryer on one of those circuits. Probably won't be using a dryer if you are in a blackout situation. So that led to, and we can go in here. So stepping inside, we got to this decision making, which is which circuits do we back up. So I ended up with 2 light circuits, 1 for each floor, and 2 power circuits, 1 essentially for each floor. But we did find a little bit of apparently the washing machine and dryer are on the upstairs circuit for some reason. The main switch, which connects to the grid, and then the oven and air conditioning, which, as I said, I don't want on battery backup. So that was the second day, and it was quite a long day, but at the end of it we had our batteries installed, wiring all done, and everything looked pretty good. One of the unique things is we've got 2 inverters. So that's the original inverter over there, which has 6 kilowatts of solar attached to it. This is the new one, which has around 8 kilowatts of solar in this one has 8 kilowatts of solar connected to it. The monitoring system can't see that solar over there. So I'm going to go more in depth with how to look at Renox's monitoring system, but essentially that looks like it's coming from the house. Still good, it still charges into the battery and you can still use it for load in the house, but in terms of monitoring it's a little bit different. But, and here's where the problem really came. On the first morning, woke up, turned the kettle and the toaster on, and the power went out. As you can imagine, we were not very happy about this. It did not blow the circuits. So the circuits still stayed on, but we had no power. And what we did notice is that we had an error on the inverter. So essentially the power was coming from the battery through the inverter and out. Because there was a power, what we've since found out, and I don't know about this because it didn't happen all the time, there was a power spike that the inverter couldn't supply that power instantaneously, and it tripped the inverter, which reset itself and then came back on and everything worked again. This was not really desirable, wasn't something there was just like putting a kettle and a toaster on, shouldn't be that much of an issue. So, and I'm going to give Renox thumbs up here. They came back and sorted out the issue. And once again, we'll go inside. The solution to this problem is this switch here. And it is only on the power downstairs circuit because that's where the heavier loads are. And it means I can switch directly from the grid to nothing to the battery. And if I leave it on grid, which I've got now, it can still pull through the battery, but its backup is the grid. So when there's that sudden spike in power, just as the devices turn on and motors spin up, it stays connected to the grid, and there has not been a problem since we did that. I must say, we were not very impressed when that first happened, and the power went off for about 5 minutes. It happened a few times on using various different things. And the strange thing was it wasn't replicable. Like sometimes you'd boil the kettle and it would trip it. Then you boil the kettle the next time, wouldn't trip it. Anyway, I don't understand it all. But the guys at Renox came out and sorted it out. So we're fairly happy with that. The last thing is, let's jump into the Red X, and it is Red X. It hasn't been relabeled yet to Renox, the app. This is the computer version. It's a little bit easier for me to capture. And we can see we're generating 5.65 kilowatts of solar power. That is from the Renox new solar panels. So they're coming into the battery and to the grid. And here's a bit weird. We've got a negative load. This is because we've got 2 inverters. One inverter is sitting on the house, pretending it's being the load. So even though we're running computers and things, so we've got negative 2.58 kilowatts of load. So we're obviously using energy in the house, computers on, other things are on, but we've also got 6 kilowatts of solar generating power. So there's power coming from the house, the load, as well as generation. And the battery's already powered up and it's only 10 o'clock in the morning, so that's good news, and it's exporting to the grid. You can see the stats adding up overall. So already this morning we've exported 11 kilowatts of power. So at the current rate, that's not a lot of money, but hopefully we'll change that soon. You can dive more in. I'm not going to get in depth into everything on here, but you can see the sun's come up this morning And if you want to have a look at these individually, you just cross them off. So there's generation by itself. There's storage. So that's the battery pushing out energy. And then as the sun comes up, it's taking it in and storing it. You can just have a look at the grid. So how much power are we taking from the grid? You can see little dots, not a lot. And then as generation comes on, a big gap down there, and consumption mimics that almost exactly. The last thing I want to show you is when we had issues of those power outages, and you can see them in the data. Here we go. So this is actually the day. It's kind of a weird map that day. This was actually when they fixed the problem, the big outage. But you can see here in the morning a massive power spike. We were trying to test things and actually break it, so we were running the microwave, the kettle and the toaster. So there was a spike and it crashed the inverter. So there was a power outage. You can see everything went out for a little bit and then came back on a few minutes later, and off we go. That big gap is when it was getting fixed. So if we go back a few more days, and here's another power outage here, you can see the dip in. So that was the second day after we had it at 8:30 in the morning, a dip, and it crashed the inverter. So as you imagine, we weren't very happy with that, but they have gone through and checked everything, and since we've done the correction, it has all been fine. So thank you very much for Renox for getting on board and fixing that promptly. We're very happy at the minute, waiting for the next steps. I hope you enjoyed that quick video on our setup and getting everything installed. Many more to come. I want to dive more into the dashboards because I don't understand them fully, and I want to get better at using them. And also when we get the wholesale power and how much can we actually export and make use of all this solar and battery energy. All right, thank you very much for watching. If you've got any questions, leave them down below. Otherwise, we'll see you next time on the Rudder X.